Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Roll Call. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone for True Crime with the Sarge. For those of you that are new to Roll Call is when the cops show up in the morning or the afternoon or the evening, and they get their assignments from the sergeant or the lieutenant, whoever that may be, about where they're going to do for the day, sector cars, and that and the like. And for a pop reference culture, of course, Hill Street Blues, to be careful out there. That's Roll Call. So here at Roll Call, we go through a series of cases that have been happening in the news, some of them that you've been following, and we're going to do that for you today. But before we get started, I have to I have to tell everybody thank you very much. We hit 10,000 on this show already. So 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I started this channel on August, I think it was 20th, and my goal was to have 10,000 by the end of the year. We did that with flying colors, so we're going to keep on pushing forward. So I want to just thank everybody here for your support. It's been great. And I just wanted to thank you guys again. I know I had posted it on the community page. We have a lot of new subscribers, so go to the community tab and check out the quizzes on forensics and criminal investigations. I think you're going to enjoy them. And without further ado, I am bringing back retired NYPD detective and professor Dave Sarni. Dave, good to see you again. How's everything going?
All good. Good so far. End of semester, school, and going well.
Very good. Yes. I don't know if you've been catching Mike and I have been doing the show, and it's good to see you back.
Yeah, pleasure.
Now anytime. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to start off with P Diddy. Now, this video just pops up. Looks like CNN got a hold of it. They didn't tell us where it come from. I guess from the hotel security. Maybe they bought it. I don't know. But they didn't tell us where it comes from. And we don't know if the police have ever gotten this, because the district attorney specifically said that the statute of limitations basically are up and they have no complaint from law enforcement. So I don't know, Dave. I don't know. This thing just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird because I think it's a lot of what you're seeing now is a cascading on Sean Combs. All of the dark skeletons are flying out. The dark closet, the thing that he kept a lot of things in, are now being exposed.
Yep.
And this is just one of them. So whoever had this video secured, I'm going to presume it's someone who decided to take a copy of a copy and now put it out there. And this is where, you look at the chickens coming to roost in a sense. This is not unusual. Everyone knows there's been a darkness about Sean Combs. And now you're seeing who he is. And I think that's what we're beginning to realize. He is not a good person. It never has been.
And we've seen this happen before, when the fear of people are no longer in existence, when people then come forward. And I think this is only the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that are going to be leaked out. But let's talk a little bit, because I was following the conversation on Twitter, and a lot of people were confused about why they can't go and charge him, right? They're like, why can't they just go and arrest him now, right? Statute of limitations. So this video is from 2016, but it's a frustrating thing for investigators, and I know you've run into this several times in your career.
Right. What happens is in this case, there's no complainant, and thereby no case unless the state would generate something. But the reality is, this is an assault case, domestic assault case. It's it's 7 to 8 years in the past, and there's nothing to prosecute at this point. And that's the reality. A murder case has no limitation at this, but when it comes to misdemeanors and certain felonies, there's a limitation to when prosecution takes place.
Right. And yeah, murder is the only crime that doesn't have a statute of limitations, and just about everything is. So I did a little research before we got on the show this morning. So in Los Angeles, or specifically the state of California, for a misdemeanor assault, and that's what this was too. It's a misdemeanor assault, and in order to have a misdemeanor assault, even, you need to have an injury, right? If not, it becomes harassment. But you only get, in California, they only get 1 year for the statute of limitations for a misdemeanor assault. Like, for instance, in New York State, you get 3 years to bring a case. So that is really short. I don't know why California is really making this an issue, but geez, 1 year is not a lot of time.
Yeah, it's just, but that's each state has their own way of handling these type of crimes. So, and it's California. So there's nothing, you have no unusual thoughts behind you. Like, oh yeah, okay, a year is about what they'll say. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, New York is 2 years. Sorry, I said 3, but 2 years. So, but still a whole other year. And New York
yeah,
and California, I view them on the same ideological plane when it comes to crime.
yeah,
And that's so. I mean, New York is given it. And so, for instance, even if it was a felony, right? The California has 3 years, and New York has 5 years to bring it on a felony assault.
yeah,
Which is really wild because felony assaults, as you know, are these shootings too. You could
yeah,
shoot somebody, and if you don't make the arrest in 5 years, the guy walks free. It's
yeah,
craziness.
yeah. That's just it's the thing. You're seeing, and this has been around a while, so I'm not going to say it's a new thing with the Just Reform Act that's happened in New York State, but you're seeing a lot of or a lot less prosecutions than you've seen in the past, and it's because if it's a backdated case, it's going to be confirmed. It's going to be part of this discovery, and they won't prosecute unless high profile, you would probably say. And in this case, if this was a New York case and Sean Combs with that assault, people would be clamoring for some sort of justice to it. But the reality is Cassie did not file a complaint. There's really nothing to go on at this point. The DA's office will not prosecute because of that statute of limitations. So you're just kind of stuck. No matter how what you feel about Sean Combs, this is what it is.
Yeah, and the fact that this is a domestic violence incident to boot, I think it. I expected more outrage about it, though. It really wasn't a lot of that outrage. I mean, this is a domestic violence assault. This would have been a must arrest situation. The cops wouldn't have had a choice in
Right.
regards to the way the law is written, and that's why I'm hoping that the cops didn't know about this, because if they did, they're going to have some questions to answer about why an arrest wasn't made, even if she didn't want to be the complainant. We know, too bad, you're getting arrested. Let the district attorney throw it out.
Yeah, we don't know if even there was a 911 call generated by this, because there was a civil suit that Cassie filled. It was settled in a day, and this is now just coming out. And I guarantee you, there's obviously, and there may be opinions in this, but when it comes to domestic, it happens once. It's going to continue to happen. This was not just the one incident. There are probably several involved with her and anyone else in the past or present with him. So, the benefit of having domestic violence assault cases handled by the police, it takes away the victim's necessity to make a complaint. Once we're there, we see an injury, they're getting arrested. That's the end result, which is great about it. And so it takes away. It's kind of like an official timeout for the family or whatever it's going to be, and it's a good positive thing, especially with domestic incidents. And you've probably seen them in the past. It was kind of like tell the guy to walk around the corner, to come back an hour or two. And if the woman or male, whoever was there, didn't want to prosecute, you didn't. So you walked out. You just let it go. Now, because of how violent these have become after the case and how they were continuous and it's patterned, it's good that the law enforcement has been mandated to make those arrests.
Yeah, and I just threw the number for the domestic violence hotline, the national hotline. So if you are, God forbid, a victim of domestic violence or know somebody that is, this is the hotline. We want to make sure that everyone knows it. And it's gotten to a point where you look back in the history of this, like you said, it was like you go take a walk, you go to the bar, right, have a drink, and then OJ happened. And I think the OJ case was the thing that really changed it. I know people will argue with me on that all day, but it doesn't really matter. And then all of a sudden we got the domestic incident reports and everything else that goes on. So this was in the middle to late 90s. All that stuff had come in. And it was a good thing because we saw a lot of this, depreciate, so to speak, right? I started going on less domestic violence calls and doing all this stuff because it was a mandated arrest, and the cops had the discretion. That was the thing, and everyone knew that, right? So the cops had the discretion. I remember going to scenes, Dave, where the guy was like, you don't want me arrested, do you, honey? And be like, you know what? She doesn't have any say in the matter. I have that say in the matter. So just that whole psychological, warfare that some of these men put, their girlfriends and wives under.
Yeah, you're taking away the fear and taking that responsibility for the arrest to me. When you make the call or you make that arrest, it's on us. It's on the city. So we'll deal with it accordingly. And realize we're not taking sides. We're doing what's right for the situation at hand. They may be, when the cops come, and I always tell them when the cops come, that decision is out of the people's hands. Once the police are at that scene, your decision-making process. Our preliminary investigation will then determine if someone's getting locked up or not. And it takes away that issue of fear of reprisal, at least.
Yep.
You made me get arrested. You got me arrested. No, I did it. Here's my name. Here's my shield. This is how it goes.
Exactly. And then we saw like 2 months ago now, I think it's about 2 months ago, the feds raided his homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And they specifically were looking for the video cameras and surveillance cameras because apparently everybody has been saying that he has recorded a lot of these things, right? He's been charged with exploitation and trafficking and you name it. And that Cassie, I think it was Cassie, had said that she was forced to have sexual relations with these men, right, and all this other stuff, and that he videotaped it. So this is going to be an interesting part of this. And Dave, we know when the feds get involved in this stuff, man, there is no stone left unturned. So I'm waiting to see exactly what they find in that.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Reality is, Sean has gotten away with a lot of things for many years, starting with the CCNY when he was part of that whole overbooking of the location, and then people got stampled and trampled to death. He walked away from that. The Jennifer Lopez gun in the car, he walked away from that. Money seems to be now not the way he's going to stay out of trouble. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. It is the tip of the iceberg for Sean Combs.
Yeah, the feds don't care how much money you have.
No,
they don't care how much. Yeah, they don't care. And as a matter of fact, the more you have, the better off they are because it'll all be forfeited and that kind of thing. So I don't think his lawyers would have appreciated what he did yesterday. I don't know if it was his PR people. I don't know, whoever. If he got advice to go on Instagram and make this statement, guys, I'm not going to play the statement because I'm not giving this guy any airtime. But if you want to see his statement, you can just Google it. But Dave, when I saw that thing, it was talk about cringeworthy.
He's never been everything he's done, and now you're watching a guy trying to like pull himself out of the sewer he's been in for a long time, and he's trying to justify himself. And I'm sorry. You weren't sorry when you did it, and it wasn't a one-time thing with Cassie. I mean, you settled this lawsuit in a day. You settled a civil lawsuit in a day, knowing that this was coming, and now you're realizing the power he wielded within the music community is crumbling because if now it's no longer he's not Bad Boy Entertainment. There are now individual. The music industry has changed so drastically. He's not the pinnacle anymore, and now you're seeing all those ghosts and all those skeletons going for him now, and it will happen, and it's not a bad thing for the community at large because you're worried about this isn't it. It's what the slapping around. He's the trafficking, probably drugs, possibly kids. Who knows? And there's been rumors about that for decades about his issues. Decades.
Yeah, and those what the allegations are, like underage kids. They arrested his quote unquote drug dealer, right? This I forgot his name. But one thing that was missing from his statement was an apology to Cassie. He was like, I'm apologizing. He didn't apologize to Cassie for doing it. She was the one that got beat up in this whole thing.
Yeah, it's about him. It's been image for him the whole time. And now you're seeing that image crumble. And that's what tells you. He didn't care about what he did at the time. And immediately it's more like, poor me. I'm a vicious person. Not I'm sorry what I did, but I didn't mean to do it. You did it. And you did it. You stomped her. And this is not, and I said, this is not the first time it happened. This wasn't a one-time thing with I would say probably with Cassie. And I guarantee you he's done this before and gotten away with it. And now no longer.
I'm just wondering if there's other videos out there from some of these hotels and some of these things. I'm sure there are. But I just, I don't like the fact that people hold on to these things like waiting for that opportunity. If they have it, just get it out there because he could have killed this girl. Yeah. I mean, this is what, what people don't understand. I guess I don't know if what happened per se with this video and how it got suppressed for all these years. We could speculate all day long how that video got, suppressed.
Yeah. And the thing is, someone held on to it because, hotel videos vanish in the haze and someone held on to this. So somebody in security had this footage and they maintained it. You're going to you've seen it in the past. You probably see it again is where people will start selling it to the highest bidder. I got this. What do you want to do? So they'll sell TMZ-ish or whatever gossip or the social media network will sell it. They'll buy it. you may see more of these.
Right. And I was surprised it was CNN that got a hold of this,
Yeah, yeah.
and not TMZ, right? TMZ this would have been TMZ
Yeah.
fodder for sure.
They're very upset they didn't get this one.
I'm sure. I'm guaranteeing they're asking questions like, how did we not get this?
Exactly. Harvey's wondering. He's angry. We got to get this. And I guarantee you, they got their feelers out for other people all around.
Yeah, I mean, and we know about the international symbol, right? When people need help, especially on domestic violence or kidnapping or what have you. So we make sure. I invited the people on there who came up with the symbol, but they are not doing interviews right now. So I just we'll put that on the shelf. But yeah, I mean, and listen, and then because Jennifer Lopez was involved. Now, actually, there was an allegation that she's the one that brought the gun. Right now, she's getting divorced. There's everything. The whole world is falling apart for all these people, and it's just interesting. And I don't believe in coincidences. I'm sorry.
The light is shining on a lot of this, and you're seeing the hierarchy sort of break down everywhere. Governments, business itself is watching the hierarchy getting crumbled. You see, just now everyone's attacking Wall Street with the bankers and the deaths you've had of the 100-hour work week. Now you're starting to see a focus on the overworking of all of these investment bankers. It's an upheaval, but the question is, where is it coming from? That I don't know. Because all of a sudden it seems to be a creeping slow, with the Harvey Weinstein cases, and all of a sudden now you're starting to attack the old ways, which is good. But who's initiating all this? That's the one thing. Where did all decide to come from? Where they're starting to go, who do we go after next? Let's go after the old regime. Sean Combs being the prototype with that.
Yep. Helene says, will the feds be able to find out who CNN got it from? If they wanted to, they could. But usually when you're dealing with the news agency, and CNN is a news agency, the sources and everything else, they might not be able to get they could find out who it is, but I don't think it will become public, nor would it become a criminal thing. So, yeah, when you're dealing with a real news agency, identifying sources or whatever is a no-no, we know, in this country. So that's that's something.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Brooklyn Rules says, do you think the raid on his house made people come forward? Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Listen, if we don't, I think we're hitting ourselves if we don't think that there have been several people that are now worried about their own skin that haven't come forward. Even people who weren't there, or people who are just on the fringe of some of the stuff that know something, that are now afraid. Because folks, the feds, if you get convicted in the feds, you are doing that. If they get 25 years, if they get a RICO case on them, you're doing the full 25 years. There's no like out in 5 or good behavior. You're doing the full run.
Yeah, the New York, this isn't like New York City or New York State where you get like Met tickets and like a pat on the back. You're getting time.
And the Met tickets are punishment enough.
Yeah, right now, definitely. It's just, that's how the feds work. And it's a positive in the sense, because you guarantee that drug courier they arrested for Sean has been probably spewing a whole bunch, and he's going to have information. And, this is not over by any stretch of imagination. Anyone he's touched or been in contact with who they have something on is being brought into the offices. And it's a year if you lie to the feds. So that's automatic at this point. So you don't want, and a federal crime, once you're convicted federally, it screws you up in any other format you want. Yeah, civilly, you're done. So a lot of these guys are going to cooperate just to protect themselves and their money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And not only that, it's keep themselves out of jail, right? So whoever comes
too.
Yeah, whoever comes to the table first. Yeah. It's nuttiness. So if you're just joining us now, we're 19 minutes into roll call this morning. We have 180 people. If you're just joining us now, we have retired NYPD Detective and Professor Dave Sarni joining us today for roll call. So thank you guys. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that too. So Dave, let's switch gears and let's talk about this heinous case from Florida that came up with some more information, this Madeline Soto case. Some really disturbing information now that is coming out about sleeping arrangements and about all these different crazy things with the perp Stefan Stearns, the alleged perp. Boy, I just want to pick something out though. When you listen to the interview, what I didn't like the way it was done with this tag team type of thing. Like tell us, like, from the detective point of view, when you have a partner, you're doing this stuff. How do those roles get set up when you're doing this? Because I really didn't like the way that was done.
Yeah. Anytime we do an interview or an interrogation, there may be a second in it. The second sits there and shuts up. Really, what they're doing is they're listening to the conversation between the partner and the person they're either interviewing or interrogating, and seeing things. And then if they're giving an overall picture, and then you walk out and you talk to each other, and then come back in. You really don't want anyone to interject you, because it kind of breaks the flow, and your question might destroy the line of questioning that the other detective has. And that's even what happened. The thing was, the one good thing I like about, they let him talk, and he just talked, and he said a lot of things, and they were getting the timeline. They were getting him locked into locations and time stamping himself, which was a benefit. But when you're in the room with somebody, and whoever the lead is the lead, I say nothing until I'm asked. And even then, I would rather talk outside and bring it to the forefront and let the other detective bring it up, because that's the relationship is built up. As minimal as it is sometimes, that relationship's already built up, because I'm asking the questions, and then I go next to the room and say, listen, could talk to you a second, bring him outside. Listen, maybe he's sitting. Yeah. Look at this, look at A, B, or C. Such as, like, they were looking like the McDonald's. And I loved when he kept saying, I'm not a morning person. And he kept saying that all the time, trying to excuse a lot of what he's saying. But he was so detailed. How are you a morning person, not knowing this, but saying that? And that's where you could talk to the detective outside. Listen, you keep saying you're not a morning person. That's just keep going. Just keep going. I think we got some leads. We got some information.
Yeah, exactly. So I wish they would have done this a little better, because they did a good job, because they're outside. You can hear the cars and stuff driving by. They did a good job, and we're not critiquing them, saying like they did a bad job. We're looking at technique, because I think that if they would have gone down the road where one person asked the questions, I think they could have gotten some other little tidbits of information out of him that just seemed to, like you said, Dave, the flow was kind of cut off, right? I always tell people it's like that. We've all had that dream that everything's going great. You dream, right? And then the phone rings, and you wake up, and you get back under the covers. You try to get back to the dream, and you never get there, because that stream of consciousness has been broken. Yeah, and I think that's what happened a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one thing I think is you always have a problem. And he was working well, and they were getting a lot. And the good thing is they weren't peppering with questions. They were letting him elaborate and expand. And that little agreement, yeah, okay. Sometimes even saying nothing will have them self-start. If they kind of stop and you just look at them, they might self-start. But, you learned a lot. But definitely, I would say you could learn more if it was just one person in there, the one lead doing all the questions, because they're asking the questions, and it's their case.
Right. And I also like the fact that we didn't see it, but we know they did it. That the one detective, I think it's the male detective, had a map with him.
Yeah.
And he put out the map, and he's like, well, you said this, but show us where that is, because I don't see it. Whatever. I thought that was a really good technique. Yeah. They did, like I said, listen, we're not saying they did a bad job. I just think that they could have gotten to where they needed a lot faster and even more information if you just go with the one detective ask the questions, because you can't serve two masters. You just can't.
Yeah, and it is good to have them show you. I think it's a good thing to.
Oh my God, that was great.
Explain it. The showing, show me the route, and he's going to show you the route. Then he goes, I don't know what. Then he asks about, you turn that way. Well, I don't know the roads that well. You don't, but you do, because you've driven her 5 or 6 times. You live in the area, but you don't live in the area. There's just the problem with the whole thing is the guy is just beyond. It's just
he's
irritating. It's so creepy, and it bothers me. I don't want to even say his name, because of what he's been doing. And this is again, you have one investigation, the missing and the murder case, the sex thing, the sex videos, and I guarantee they've been shared. And I'm hoping that when the feds get more into it, start looking at all of this social media, all his computer work, because he is another cog in that machine of sex trafficking and child porn and pedophilia.
Yep. And he's got 1,700 images that they were able to recover from a Google Drive, which they got out of that interview.
Yeah.
Right. But I said they got a lot of good information out of there. And I think it was the female detective who said to him, like, do you drive this way often? Like, do you go this route all the time? And is this where you always drop her off?
Yeah.
I thought that was, I thought there was some great lines of questioning in this.
Yeah, I really liked. I mean, I liked how they did it because it wasn't some. People always want to say you have to have a question, have an immediate. Let him say what he has to say, and then you can refute or, confirm or deny what he's saying. And you could see when they went the route, he's like, "Oh no, I went back to get the key, but you didn't bring your phone with you." "Oh, I left my phone, but you went and got the clicker for the gate." Let him say anything. You're not accusing him. You're just giving him that rope so they can extend it and find out what part of it where that rope is gonna break in his story. And you saw it. You saw it break. When I saw her with the bag, the backpack. She was going in the backpack. Oh, great. That's great. We know he's lying. We don't have to learn all these little doohickeys of left, looking right. We go find the evidence to refute what he said, and they found the backpack, which he said he saw her going into when he left her near the church.
And I think they already knew that. I think they already had the video of him throwing out the backpack when he's like, "Oh, she had her cell phone. Oh, she left her cell phone home. Maybe." And then here's the thing too. He said something like, "I saw her like walking back, kind of thing," and maybe she thought it's, and you kept on going. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, parents would have.
He was hungry for McDonald's. He's hungry, but you know what? She didn't want any, so I went back. They went back again. And I'm like, what do you? And then everything he was saying, that was the benefit of that interview. Let him talk. Let him give you that timeline. Let him lock himself into time. He started saying he was giving times. Then he started worrying about giving times because he started trying to. Well, I'm not really sure. Maybe that time or whatever. Like he went back to the vape shop. What time are you going to a vape shop to pick up vapes? What store's open at 9 a.m. for a vape shop? He didn't know. He didn't know that time. He went there. Then he went back. Is that the regular place you go to? I know the detectives were listening to this and going, "Great, we let him keep talking."
Yep,
and got what they wanted.
Steel Guitar, thank you very much for that. Super. Thanks you so much for a continuing educational experience. And you guys know that you can actually like the stickers now. So thank you, Steel Guitar, and Rob Mullen too. Thank you. 10,000 subs, Dave. We hit
That's
on this
fantastic,
channel,
man.
So
it's all kudos to you, sir. That's what it comes down to.
Well, listen, guests like yourself and Mike and everything else. So you guys have helped me, and then we're building a great base here too. We got a lot of great people in this channel, so I'm very happy and privileged to be part of it. Right? It's everybody else's channel. Dave, let's play devil's advocate though on this Madeline Soto investigation and the detectives. We know that once the person becomes the focus of the investigation, Miranda kicks in, and I think this is where the defense attorney is going to try to get these statements suppressed because they're going to say he was the focus of the investigation. They should have read him Miranda before they went to go. They knew about the backpack. They knew about them throwing all this stuff out, and they kind of jumped the gun. That's what the defense is going to say. I'm not saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Dave?
Well, as long as you're talking to the person and they're free to leave. I mean, this is an outside location. They're outside. Yep. He could say, "I don't want to talk anymore." In his mind, he's not in custody. I mean, there's a concept of that custody aspect to it. He's not in custody. He's actually trying to give you information to help out. And you don't have to tell him, "Listen, you're under arrest at this point." He could have left at any time. And the good thing was he wasn't in a box talking. And then he talked to then he goes on TV to do it, which then you can compare and contrast his interview, which is even better. Yep. He was looking to help. Was what they did reasonable? Absolutely. Did they know? And it'll be questions of, did they know about the backpack at the time about this? Who knows what that'll come out in the investigation.
Yep.
But they're looking to find her. And there's your answer. Well, I need to know where he's going, and we're just trying to find out. And I don't know what the detectives knew at the time. Those investigators knew exactly what was going on, but they're out there in the field with him. Open area. He could have stopped talking at any time. Could have walked away. And that's your benefit there is he's not in custody. They're not asking guilt-seeking questions. They're asking, "Tell me how you found where Madeline was." That's what it comes down to. So, that'll be a good argument. But in the state of Florida, you're not gonna see, I think, as a type of where they're going to attack it, because you're going to see, hey, he was open. He could have gone and left at any given time.
And I think I kind of led you right into it, and I knew you were going to go there in the respect that this is still an emergency exception.
Yeah.
Right. So this was, now people are going to say, "Well, Joe, listen, it's still an emergency." They didn't know where she was. Yeah. So because the defense, this is what the defense is going to do. And Dave, built cases, and I supervised cases. And you have to understand that these are the things that, you know, the defense attorneys are going to come at you, because that interview that he did with those two detectives is going to be very damaging to this case, and they're going to want to try to get that excluded for sure.
Right.
But they still don't know where Madeline is, and that's the emergency exception kicks in. There's no Miranda required in emergency exceptions with this.
And that'll be the battle with the, you know, the attorneys will battle that. And the reality is
they'll lose that one, though. The defense is going to lose that battle.
And the detectives were doing, what are you doing? I'm trying to find a 13-year-old girl who's missing that never ran away before. That's what I'm looking to do.
And they got that on tape too.
Yeah. Whatever I'm coming down to do, whatever comes down the pike as far as him being the suspect, you know, we already may have that in our head because he's the last person to see her. But hey, I want to where she's at, because maybe, you know, we don't always pigeonhole people into these spots. He's a suspect. We treat everybody in a particular way. When it happens, the investigation leads you to that. The facts will lead you to that. And right now, you're getting the facts of what happened to this girl. Where was she last when you saw her? How'd you get there? What did you do? What'd you do when you left her? All of these things. And that's just to get the girl, find out where she is.
Hope Ain't Fear gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Hope, for your continued support on this channel. It's really appreciated. And then there's more disturbing stuff about the mother, right? About the sleeping arrangements. And this is coming from Jennifer, the mother herself.
Yeah.
It says, when asked if this was normal that Stefan, I'm going to read this, that Stefan and Madeline would sleep together without her being there, she said yes. Jennifer stated that while they were together, they would either all sleep in the same bed or Madeline would sleep with her when Stefan was not around.
Yeah.
Stefan Stern said Madeline always needed human contact and sleep to, you know, and contact to go to sleep, and he called it snuggling.
Yeah. Oh, how people find each other like this is amazing. New York, you know, the United States, 8 million people, and somehow all of these strange individuals somehow converge. And the thing is, she thinks this is okay. And what was her relationship and her family to allow this? And how desperate could anyone be to be in a relationship where you're allowing the boyfriend to sleep with your child in the same bed, and when you're not sleeping, he's in another room with her? That is beyond the pale. And it's so crazy in a sense. And it's crazy in particular, like, where do these moral codes come from that you think it's okay for a third? And they found each other. That's what I mean. The boyfriend and her and found each other with she's got a child, and maybe it's, again, this comes back to, I'm not a psychologist. I'm a hack when it comes to detective work and stuff. But you're looking at how do you get? And when you look back, you're like, how does this happen? We've seen it, and you've seen it, Joe. You've seen family relationships going, how is this accepted? How are people accepting this type of relationship with a stepchild? And they're not even married. He only went there. I think he got there the night after the birthday party. And just allowing all of this, it's beyond.
And there's a lot of people that are calling for her arrest for a while now. But I would say you have to be patient. The cops have to build their case. She's made a number of statements, right? They have to go through all this stuff. I would say just be patient, because the cops, you have to have evidence. You got to build up this prosecutable case, and you got to be able to do this. Statements alone, especially from the perp, are not going to do it for you. You're going to have to get some other information. So those videos might.
And you don't rush. You can't rush investigations. That's what you see a lot, and you see the public going, "Why isn't there one? Why isn't this person arrested?" We have to arrest people based on probable cause, and that you need evidence. You need facts. Just having words necessarily, DA or prosecutor is not going to do it. They're going to say, "What else do you have? What else do you have?" You have to build that case. And with Madeline's mom, I know the person, I want to mention the name, Madeline's mom. This, let it happen. They will find it out, and through the process of the investigation, the totality of circumstances will lead them to, if she's going to be arrested, what's going to be the charge. Could be reckless endangerment of a child, whatever the Florida statutes are. Let the detectives, let the investigation run its course before we start locking people up and losing them because we don't have enough evidence.
Right, and I think the state attorney general alluded to something, because when they asked him about when the trial's going to start, it was originally going to be July and August, but they kind of intimated now this is going to be late 2024 or even early 2025. So to me, that means that there is more information coming, and they're buying themselves more time. There's no reason to go to this speedy trial kind of stuff when you're still investigating the case. So I think that is something for a lot of people out there who have been impatient about the movement on this case. It's coming. You're just gonna have to. We're gonna have to be patient on this and and deal with it.
I always look at, I went during my time doing investigations and bosses. I'd say, you want it done, you want it done right. You want it done. We may not get what you want, but we want it done right. We're going to get an arrest, and we'll get an indictment. So give it the time that it needs. Especially, this has been going on. He's been in that family. He's been with the woman for several years at this point. So there's a treasure trove of information on both ends, and you want to make sure as you said before, every I dotted, T's crossed. You need this stem to stern full investigation, so you cannot leave anything out there that is missed.
Yeah, and we don't, especially in a case of this, when you have this horrific case of this 13-year-old and all the abuse that has gone along with it, you want to make sure that you have this thing airtight, because we don't want to see any mistakes going on there. Is there anything else from this Madeline Soto case that
I really think, and they're going to look probably even deeper into him, is this, where these images, are they all of Madeline, or are they other images? And they're probably disseminating that, getting metadata from those images. And I'm hoping that we continue that investigation on sex trafficking, pedophilia route too. We're going to have the murder case here, but I want to see where you go. And I want to get to the whys and all of that. And I like to see, because he is that type of person that is probably is involved in a network of sharing child porn. And that's what I want to see also. I want to see an extension of that case too, because I want to see that he's not the only one involved in that aspect.
And I also want to know, sorry. I also want to know too, is that, usually these guys pick single moms with kids of the age that they like. And then when they get to a certain age, right? So I think maybe this 13 birthday party was a big deal for him. And that's the reason why the homicide happens that night. But, did he have any other relationships with other women? I mean, I don't think I remember hearing the police calling for that. Like, usually they say, if anybody has had any relationship with this guy who have children, please contact us. Maybe I missed it, but I don't remember hearing.
I might have been early on, but it seems to be they've been focused on this relationship particularly. But, when it comes to these individuals, and they I don't know if he's that type of stalker in a sense, where he grooms kids in that part. But he's got videos, he had photos, he resets he's been sharing that. That's the factory reset kind of goes into that. Like, all of a sudden you factory reset today, I made a mistake, but not really. So he knows what he had in his phone was bad. The question is, who else had access to that, all those photos and videos he had? And that's another aspect.
Well, here's the other thing too. I mean, some of that data might be lost, but you know what? There's still an electronic trail about where these things have come from. So whatever service he's using, they still might be able to piece it together. It's going to be more difficult, but resetting your phone might help you, but it's not going to be the be all and end all that's going to do that. So let's switch gears to the Sade Robinson case up in Milwaukee. We know, for those that aren't familiar with this case, Sade is a 19-year-old young girl who goes on a date with this Maxwell Anderson guy who's 33, and she disappears. And they find body parts of her all around Milwaukee. Now, this Saturday night, an arm washed up in, I'm going to probably say this wrong, so the people up in Waukegan, I think it's his lake, about 50 miles from where Milwaukee is. They find an arm that they believe belongs to Sade Robinson. There are still several body parts missing in this case. And the reason why I wanted to bring this case up, because I don't want to see this case fall through the cracks. This young woman did nothing wrong other than pick the wrong guy to go on a date with. And just because you go on a date with somebody doesn't mean, that this is going to happen to you. This is, to me, I find this outrageous. And for any parent out there, this should scare the living hell out of you. In regards to this, because she did everything right. She meets him in a public place. She's using, the cell phones, and so she felt that she was safe. And God Almighty, this thing ended up horrible.
Yeah, the sad part is, you see, this is not uncommon. Dealing with first time dates where the person has, the true psychopath that this guy is he's able to, convince her, obviously, to go back to his residence. She's there. I think they pinged her phone, because there for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And somehow she did everything right, but he made her feel comfortable, made her feel safe enough that it was okay to go back to his house. And at that point, he was in his realm. He's in his element. And this is, I don't know if it's gonna be a first time thing for him. I know they're probably looking at background of him also, the defendant in this case, because I don't like using their names. They're going to look a little backtrack in this guy, because this is a one time, and he chopped her up. And that seems to be a new thing. I don't know if it's a new thing, but it seems everyone is either learning on the internet or watched the Guy Ritchie movie, and he talks, and Bricktop talks about how to chop bodies up.
Hey, look at Long Island, for crying out loud.
Yeah. It's amazing. The New York, we've had a couple chop ups. You have this girl who's been chopped up also. Her body is in different parts of the state, in a sense. You're just amazed that they're doing this. And I don't know what's going to become of this. The house, I heard, was so I saw the news that the house was sold during this time by LLCs, bought it, and they'd be like, we had no idea this house was being investigated. And the thing is about these salespeople, the real estate agents, don't have to tell you. In New York, I know they don't. And in Florida, I know they don't either, because I asked a location, and I learned this from an interview about meth houses. And you have to ask these questions.
Yeah.
And,
some states you have to tell them if somebody died in the house.
Yeah.
Some states you do.
Yeah, you don't. And in Florida, we asked, if this is a former meth house, it says we cannot confirm or deny. That means it's the meth house. So, this is that one bad part of it, is, the sale. But to be that evil, to really think that this is how, you found this girl who trusted you. She was excited about it. She's coming from a good family. She's going to graduate, and she does everything right. And no matter what, it went wrong.
This kid was going places. Yeah. She had a job. She had her own apartment. She had her own car. She was she was working. She was doing all this stuff, and all because of this guy.
Yeah.
Now, and there's another twist to this, right? So this alderman, I guess we call them councilmen in New York. He's an alderman. Shared a photo of the arm on his Facebook page or whatever social media thing, right? Yeah. So, this is so the family, of course, is outraged. The coroner is outraged, and the cops are outraged, because you don't want any of your evidence showing up. And this was very similar, if you remember, Dave, not too long ago, from the body parts on Long Island case, where pictures were being shared on the internet. Now, the difference is these kids took the picture, right, or whatever. When you have an elected official do it,
this social media age, if everyone, everyone wants to get their likes, and like, oh, I'm in the mix, and I'm this, I'm part of this whole case, and see, look what I have. As in law enforcement, that's the thing. The leaks that go out, like, how did he get the photo? Who leaked it to him? Was he at the scene? You can't let this happen. And reality is, if you're in law enforcement or you are in the legislative branch, you're part of the government, you can't do that. You damage.
You should know better.
Yeah, you damage the investigation. Not only that, the audacity to do that with a kid, and put her body part out there for whatever reason, to look like you know what you're doing. What damage you're doing? What's wrong with you? Why
the psychological damage to the family who's already gone through horror? So I want to see more of what Massachusetts did. Massachusetts in August of 2022, they passed a law that said, they did it for first responders, though. Cops, firemen, EMS workers, that if you post photos that you do not have permission nor authority to do so, you're going to be charged with a misdemeanor and face up to a $2,000 fine and a termination from the job. We saw this with, if you remember, the big case was California, the basketball player, Kobe Bryant, right? Where they were sharing it at the bar and doing all this other stuff. There there needs to be some sort of policy. I remember, Dave, we had in New York City, if you took photos at the crime scene, they took your phone.
Yeah, and they should. And you shouldn't be taking photos of the crime scene. The crime scene photos are for the crime itself, not for you to hold. And you will know back in the day, a lot of detectives, a lot of cops, when they went to these scenes, would actually have a video, would have something. Let me see. I just go off the camera.
Yeah, your camera dropped. That's okay.
Yeah, camera just dropped and get back on. But you know, guys used to do that. I know they did. And this is something we have to really be concerned about.
As Dave's working on that. Missy, thank you very much for that. As Dave, hang on a second.
Back in. There we go.
Yeah, you're in. But yeah, the video's not there. That's okay, Dave. Yeah. You can.
I'm gonna try and figure out what the hell's going on here, but that's okay.
That's it. Yeah, Missy, thank you very much. 6 months member. Thank you. Good to see you, Missy.
Yeah, this game, this computer. But when you see these things, I'm detective on the job, and I always told the investigators never to do those things. This is not, there was when we did the homicide investigators course, there was a chief who'd come in and he would scream about that. This is not where you can say things. This is a death scene. And if you don't realize the death scene that's involved there and the ramifications of a family, and you think it's good to keep for a scrapbook, because that's what guys used to do back in the day. They'd have a scrapbook. Look what I did. Look what I was at. No, it's desecrating the scene and desecrating the people who are there. These are dead individuals who are seriously injured and eventually die. Be a little more respectful.
Yeah. And I thought we might have had that under control in New York City, right? I mean, they do a pretty good job. You think about how many homicides and stuff that you respond to. But I think the district attorney stepping in and saying, if you get caught taking one of these photos, like, so for instance, if I was up in Waukegan and I was the district attorney, I would have taken this alderman's phone as evidence. You have evidence of a crime. If this in fact is Sade Robinson's arm, it's a homicide. You now have evidence of a homicide, and then you will be prosecuted for that. And what they do is they take your phone and they won't send your phone back. They won't give your phone back to you. And that's it until the district attorney says, hey, so the district attorney's got to say, here's your phone back. So Dave's having some technical issues. So I'm going to keep on going until we can try again here.
Why it did.
Yeah. Okay. I got your audio back on. So don't worry. Don't worry about the video.
Yeah. No, my face.
You keep on dropping though.
I know. Okay, what's going on? But with take his phone. If you do that, you can see this end, because now your phone is now Zara material. In New York State will use that for anything. So obviously, what else is on your phone? No one wants to have that trip that you went on to whatever foreign country you did and went on to see some donkey show. What you did. So maybe this is the best way is take your phone.
Right.
It's the only way to avoid these problems. You shouldn't. You gotta be, man. This is real.
Yeah, real stuff. And I don't know if you heard it, but I said if I was the DA up in Waukegan, I would take the alderman's phone, use it as evidence until. And if it's hers, that's how you teach lessons.
Yeah, I learned that from when I was on the job, and I used my phone to take photos of a crime scene because I needed it, because I couldn't. It had to be a video of a video, and the DA goes, "Don't do that again." And it was a learning experience as a young detective. I was, why, and they explained why. Like, this becomes evidence, so you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't realize is when you're doing that, you're corrupting the scene. You're putting yourself above the situation at hand. And if we have to take your phone. That's it. You're done. Oh, I don't want to take it. No, now we have a warrant for your phone. Now your phone is part of the case.
If you're just joining us now, and a bunch of people just came in, up to 244 people, we have retired Detective Dave Sarni. Well, we had him. We lost him again, but he's having some technical difficulties. But for the most part, there he is. He's back. So let's get into Chad Daybell. For those that don't know, Chad Daybell, this case, the defense is trying to have his acquittal, did a motion to acquit because of a technical error that was made in the indictment. He said that the indictment had the wrong date of the murder of Tylee. And the judge went back into his chambers and came back and said, yeah, no, it's a clerical error. We're not throwing out this case because of that. But this guy's been charged with first-degree murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, grand theft for the death of his wife, Tammy, his 7-year-old Joshua, 16-year-old Tylee, Ryan, Lori Vallow, his wife, wherever she is, whatever, was convicted last year. But boy, there's some things that I'm picking apart in this case, Dave, that I don't like either.
Yeah, it's the problem is the smoking gun aspect. I think that's there. You have this and Lori. You can hear the conspiracy aspects to what they're doing, but the smoking gun is where I think they're concerned about. Is because he's able to distance himself a lot, and I see this defense attorney is doing his job. He's trying to say he wasn't involved. This wasn't what he was doing. He's not part of this. This is all Lori and Alex, who's now dead, who pretty much, I'm going to presume he's the trigger man in all of this. He's the catalyst of killing everybody other than Chad's wife. But, the defense is doing their job pretty well because it seems very circumstantial with what's going on. And if you're a good defense attorney, you're going to fight all of that because what's the true evidence to show that he was the murderer, that he did this murder? You have a conspiracy, probably, but, are they going to convince a jury of 12 that this is, he did it, that he's a murderer?
Exactly. And then the other thing, too, that kind of disturbs, and it keeps on coming up. So the coroner testified that she was new. There wasn't enough training or a budget when she responded to the scene of Tammy Daybell, and basically decided that no autopsy was required. And that was it. She was buried 2 days later. And here's what we see: this coroner stuff happen. And for those that don't know, a coroner is an elected position. 99.9% of the time, they are not a forensic pathologist. They are elected, and I think even some states you could be as young as 18 years old to be the coroner. She makes a bad call on this because now they bring in a medical examiner from Utah who had to do the autopsy. And the way it works with the coroner system, for those that don't know, is the coroner is supposed to take the body under suspicious circumstances. And she talked about budget, and they have to pay the nearest medical examiner to do the autopsy. So a lot of times this doesn't get done because of money. And it's a situation that they've been trying to get rid of the coroner system in this country for a long time, but they just don't have enough forensic pathologists. And I tell you, a big mistake in regards to the diagnosis or the whatever you want to call it at the scene about not taking Tammy's body for an autopsy.
Right. That's we always look at death investigations, and in class I kind of bring into that one of the biggest mistakes is you don't treat a death investigation as a homicide. You have to treat it kind of, you may think it's apparently natural, but you should treat every case as suspicious death and it looks like it didn't happen anywhere where the coroner, religious reasons. What were the religious reasons? She's a young female. She wasn't sick. She didn't have a history of illness. This supersedes that. And Chad was able to convince, young kid, in a sense, a young coroner, we don't need an autopsy because I'm a religious person. It's against our religion. We got to bury her quick. Like, whoa, take a step back. We don't know why she died. Really, no one knew.
Well, there was a good thing here. So the prosecutor did what I've been trying to say in this Karen Reed trial. When you have bad news, get out in front of it. And the prosecutor gets out in front of this because he says, he brings all that out, that, there was basically lack of money, lack of training, inexperience, and the reason why she didn't call, because the Utah medical examiner, this guy's name is Eric Christian, he said that if I was at the scene, I would have taken the body for an autopsy based on her age alone, basically, right? She was a young woman. And, that's usually a trigger when you have, 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds. Let me try.
I'm good. I got another thing coming in. I find ways.
There you go. Hold on. I got to remove the other one.
Yeah. Found ways to fix it.
Yeah, no, now we're getting that reverb. Hang on a second.
Hold on. Yeah, it's me. You leave that one.
No, There we go. I got rid of the other one. It was still there, but your face
Okay.
disappeared. But that's okay. Don't worry about it, Dave. So the deal is, there you are.
Yep, finally. Yay.
The defense now takes over in this case.
Go ahead.
And, this whole thing about the, a number on the indictment, whatever, that becomes kind of nonsense. But listen, we have forensic biologists coming on here. They're doing the tools. We've seen they've seen the row of experts that have come in on this case. And, in that respect, there's a lot of evidence to prove, like I said, but do we put the axe in his hand? Do we have, all these other things that go on? That's going to be the tough part for what the jury to decide. So, Dave froze up again. So that's basically, there you are, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Oh boy, I don't know. Living in Brooklyn, I don't know what happened. Text is just crazy.
That's okay. It happens. The technology, but so they have the forensic biologist who was testing the text of the axe and the shovels. It doesn't put these items in Chad Daybell's hands yet. So, I mean, there's still some, this isn't a slam dunk.
No, it seems circumstantial. They got the phone calls, the jail calls, and you can hear he and Lori kind of, if you're looking in suspicion, you hear it kind of sounds very coded, very conspiratorial. But your smoking gun was the boyfriend, the brother. That's what it came down to. And that's where really what you have. And, that's what I worry about is you don't have that smoking gun to put him there. You have a plan, which conspiracies looks like it's good. But as far as putting him directly at the scene, it's a little bit more difficult to get.
Yep. Very good. Dave, the folks want to know if you have a funny story that you can show that's kind of PG rated from policing. Anything funny that you... Because Mike does story time, and story time has become pretty popular, probably more popular than anything else that we do. But we don't want to put you on. I didn't ask you ahead of time, but
I can give you one that was interesting. It was kind of funny. I'm in narcotics at the time. We're doing a search warrant of a spot that's selling crack, selling dope, we're selling heroin. And it's early morning, we do early morning warrants, we hit the spot. So what we're looking to do is do reversals. And reversals is when people come in, we close the place up, we get the drug dealer, we get him locked up. So we actually have set up a reversal. And at this point, it's in an apartment building. It's actually in the apartment. I have so many. This is the apartment. And we're in the place. We lock everybody up. People keep coming in the apartment to look for drugs. So I'm outside. I'm in the hallway, actually in the doorway. And this guy comes up. He knocks on the door. And I do this really bad English accent. What you want? He goes, "This Frank there." I said, "Frank's in the loo." He's like, "What? In the loo?" He goes, "What? In the fucking bathroom." That's what I said. So the effing bathroom. And he sits there. He goes, "Not sure about this." So he leaves and he walks out the door and I see him. And he's at the door. I'm looking through the peephole. He's at the elevator. He keeps looking back. He was so desperate to get coke. He was so bad to get coke at this point. He comes back to the door. He knocks at the door. I said, "Hey, what you want?" And he's like, "All right, give me an 8-ball." He said, "Come right in. Come right in." I said, "What you want? Was it you want coke or crack?" Or everyone is no coke. That's why boss goes out and goes, "Surprise!" He's like, "Holy jeez!" He has almost has a heart attack. When he grabbed him, he's like, "I knew I should have come back." I said, "I told you, you didn't get it was a bad accident, you moron. That's why you got locked up." "Oh, I shouldn't have done it." And then the best is we see him a couple weeks later doing the same thing in the street. We grab him again. We called him Lou Costello because he looked like Lou Costello. We say, "Oh, it's Lou Costello again." "Oh, it's you guys." He starts cursing at us. "You effing guys again." I was like, "Stop buying drugs." That's what your end result is. We had the reversal was great. We had like 2 or 3 people come in. My boss always like surprised. Anytime walked in the door, he'd go, "Aha." And one guy, we almost gave a heart attack to. We almost had to call EMS because he actually went to the ground, like grabbing his chest. We're like, "Oh, geez. Sarge, what'd you do?" "Oh, he'll be fine. He'll be fine." "No, he won't. He's going to die."
Oh boy. Yep, we could probably do a whole show of this. Mike and I are planning on doing, and we're going to invite you. We're going to do a show at night. We're going to call it Night Watch, and we're just going to tell stories. You know,
Okay.
and it'll be
Watch.
higher than PG rating, and we will do that. But we won't do that on this show because we have, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, tomorrow night I have a show with Kirk Nurmi, and Kirk was the defense attorney for Jodi Arias. He's going to be on the show, and we're going to do a show in defense of Brian Kohlberger. Because here's the thing. Here's the funny thing, right? So we're going to go through I picked out about 8 or 9 things where the defense is going to key up on for the Brian Kohlberger case. And Kirk is going to see how that's going to play into the defense and how he would do it. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see from a defense attorney point of view how this goes. But I put this the idea came from, listen, you'll get a chuckle out of this, Dave. I did 2 shows that people say were anti-Kohlberger. I got so many hate mails, right? Anti-Kohlberger because it was like everything, the evidence was there. You're saying he's guilty. Never said anybody's guilty because everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So we never say anything guilty. Anyway, I digress. So I put this show together in defense of Kohlberger, and when I post it, within 5 minutes, I get a comment that says, "I can't believe you're trying to get Kohlberger off." Right? I can't win. Right? I can't win. Either you're anti-Kohlberger or now you're pro-Kohlberger. Yeah. It's just like, oh God! It's not about that. It's about this show is specifically about the topics that everybody is keying up on about what the defense is going to do. Well, I'm bringing you a defense attorney, and he's going to tell us what he would do. Now, is it going to be 100%? No, but I guarantee it's going to be in the same ballpark because this is what defense attorneys do. So tomorrow night at 6 p.m., Kirk will be on Eastern time. You guys got to check it out because I think this show is going to be a banger. I think it's going to be interesting to see about what he comes up with. Yeah, because he doesn't know what the questions. I told him I'm not asking you what questions. I'm not telling you ahead of time. So I'm going to say, how do we deal with this? I'm going to ask him questions, and it's going to be pretty interesting, I think, to see how his comments are going to be on this. But yeah, because the Kohlberger case is coming up. That's going to be something pretty contentious, I think. I don't think it's going to be contentious as the Karen Reed case in Massachusetts, but I think it's going to be something to watch for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that will begin. Yeah, it's not these cases. You never know how they go. You really don't, and you want to make sure. That's why investigators do the work they do. It's tedious, very detailed, because you may think this is it, but it may not be enough for a jury to convict.
Yep.
And
Dave, I want to thank you again.
A lot of them.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Dave,
for
I
having
want to thank you again for joining us. Yeah, we're going to have you on again when you're available. And so just tomorrow night, Tuesday, Mike will be back on Friday. And everybody, you guys have a great day and enjoy yourself. There's no Karen Reed stuff today. So you have Jay and Bob at Defense Diaries. They're doing a show about basically a compendium of what happened in Karen Reed in the last couple of weeks. And you got Grizzly True Crime with Gisela. She's got her shows on today too. So guys, make sure you go check those out. Everybody, have a great day. Dave, you hang out 1 second. All right, guys.